Fallout from the final answer coming from the FBI. No criminal charges, but this presidential candidate continues to deflect criticism of her time as Secretary of State and her management of emails, just as the current commander-in-chief sings her praises.
There has never been any man or woman more qualified for this office than Hillary Clinton. Ever.
There is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
Director Comey's presentation shredded the claims that Secretary Clinton made throughout the year with respect to this issue.
Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump dominating the headlines as the national conventions creep closer.
We've handled protesters at conventions for, decades in relatively peaceful ways since the Chicago Convention of the 1960s, but this year there seems to be there's extra passion about it.
Local experts give us a look ahead, and we look at the impact of the Clinton email controversy on This Week in Jacksonville. And right off the top here, Jason Altmaier joins us, a former U.S. representative in Pennsylvania, now living and working here in Northeast Florida, Congressman, First Order of Business. Jacksonville's Congresswoman Corrine Brown, who you served with on the Capitol Hill, now facing indictment this week. Your thoughts on what the congressman would be going through?
Well, it's going to be a tough time. She's going to have the opportunity literally to prove her case in court. She's going to have her day in court, and I think she's going to have to explain why some of these charges against her are not true.
Yeah, this is something that we've kind of been following since January when we understood that she was served a subpoena in Jacksonville, but essentially involvement with a fundraising effort for a nonprofit that doesn't seem to do much nonprofit work. They raise money, but they don't give out much money. How do you or anyone serving in public office avoid that kind of a situation?
Well, what the charges imply is an unusual situation. There's no question about that. Usually campaign donations go to the campaign of the candidate, and I think that the Congresswoman is going to have to explain why what she did was appropriate under the law.
Tough anytime there's going to be charges here. Don't want anybody breaking the law, whether in public office or not. But here's somebody who's also running for office. Obviously, this has to impact somebody who's trying to return to a position as a U.S. representative.
Well, it's clearly not helpful when you're running for re-election in a contested campaign. She's in a new district where she's introducing herself to people that she hasn't had as constituents before. It's not good timing for her from that perspective. But I think more importantly, I'm sure she just wants to clear her name.
Yeah. So, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton clearing her name this week? I don't know about that. This has been a big deal this week as well. Avoiding criminal charges in the FBI's investigation into conduct concerning email, but she didn't avoid criticism, certainly not by the FBI director. What do you think about that?
It was a scathing report that was given by the FBI director. He did not indict Secretary Clinton, but he did definitely question her judgment in a lot of ways, that the secretary had implied that she had everything covered, didn't have any classified emails that were a part of that. A lot of that was proven to be untrue. It's very damaging politically, but of course for her, she's in an unusual race, and her opponent has not been able to use it to his advantage at this point.
Well, and we might hear this in a moment. Let's hear maybe from Hillary Clinton first. Bad timing, I think, is what a lot of people say, because at least a bad image. President Obama, the day that the FBI director announces no criminal charges, the president is out campaigning with Hillary Clinton. Mrs. Clinton attacked Donald Trump for the betrayal as she's trying to shift the focus back to his record, specifically in Atlantic City. So I want you to hear from her talking about this, Atlantic City, where 3 of Trump's 4 bankruptcies affected businesses.
Contractors, many of them small businesses, took heavy losses, and many themselves went bust. But Donald Trump, he walked away with millions. And here's what he says about the whole experience. He actually brags about it.
So here's why I played that. She's obviously trying to say, let's talk about the other guy. How does what has happened with the email scandal, if you will, impact her campaign? Does it influence supporters? Does it take away from the people who are saying, I'm not sure which way to go?
I don't know if there is anybody who says they're not sure which way to go in this race. It clearly undermines her message. It hurts her campaign. In any other year, it would be incredibly damaging and probably fatal to a presidential candidate. This is not like any other year. I don't know that Donald Trump's going to be able to make use of it.
She's trying to focus on Trump. Trump certainly is trying to say that this is the reason people shouldn't vote for her. And he said that all week long since this came out. He was saying it before it came out as well. I want you to hear from a local expert as well about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, because we talked about timing was maybe bad. Before this came out from the FBI director, Bill Clinton is meeting with the Attorney General, and that seemed to be poor timing too. So I want you to hear in a moment here, are the Clintons Teflon was kind of the question I had for UNF professor Matt Corrigan. Basically, is Hillary Clinton have the same ability as her husband to avoid consequences of public scandals like this?
Well, Clinton got impeached, which was at least in terms of history, a black mark. So I don't know if they totally got away with it, but clearly they have avoided a number of political brush fires, and there's no question about that. And if you remember, both President Clinton and Secretary Clinton were close to being indicted in the 1990s. And so, yeah, they really do keep moving on. I mean, in terms of did they get away with something they shouldn't have? Again, that's a legal question. But at the end of the day, they keep moving forward.
Can it be, it seems like it will be, but can it be legitimate ammunition against the other guy to say, you got away with something over there?
Yeah, I think so. And again, they did show a lack of judgment. And if anything, if you want to be president of the United States and you're going to every day deal with classified information, I think that's a legitimate point in a campaign.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to, in a couple of weeks, see the Democratic National Convention. What do we expect there? I know we've heard that Bernie Sanders may do some co-events with Hillary Clinton. Is all made up there? Is everybody on the same page when we go to the DNC here in a few weeks?
I don't know if they're all on the same page, but very few Sanders supporters are going to vote for Donald Trump. It certainly won't work for Donald Trump. So I think the loss of votes, whether or not he endorses, is minimal. But I do think the appearance of unity going into the convention is going to be important for the Democrats.
We've heard both for Democrats and for Republicans there could be, I don't want to say unrest, but there could be some protests outside the convention centers, and there could be some conversation about we don't agree. It really is still very polarizing which side of the aisle, if you will, or which party folks are really supporting here.
I think that's true. I think both conventions are going to be interesting. Donald Trump's convention is going to be unlike any that we've seen before. His choice of vice president probably is going to be announced this coming week, so we'll see where that goes. On the Democratic side, Secretary Clinton is the clear favorite in the race. She just wants to make sure everything runs smoothly and make sure nothing goes terribly wrong, and I think her dynamic of how she frames her message in the convention is going to be a little different.
Yeah, well, pretty important to do there where you've got the national audience. Everybody wants to watch, okay, what are they going to say? Last thing, and then we'll say goodbye. Any ideas who that VP, that running mate is going to be for Secretary Clinton?
I think her calculation is she probably feels pretty good about her position in the race. I don't think she has to go to a demographic choice or a geographic choice to win a state or to pick up a weak demographic. She's looking pretty good in the race, so I think she can just pick somebody that she's comfortable with, that she feels could do the job if the case necessitated that, and that she feels would be a great candidate to go around the country until November.
Yeah. Jason Altmeyer, I always enjoy hearing your perspective, and certainly you've got a lot of experience that we can learn from. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so stay with us. Some similar topics, but our focus shifts to Republicans. Cindy Graves is joining us and sits down with us next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Well, when I shop, my coupons are in a neat little stack, and my weekly ad is folded like this, ready to go. That's how I save a lot at Publix. How about you?
Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. It's the final days of Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale with 30th anniversary savings of up to $500. Your choice, Sealy Firm or Hampton & Rhodes Pillow Top Queen Sets just $299.99 or Beauty Rest Queen Sets for just $499.99. Through Sunday, purchase select Beauty Rest Tempur-Pedic or Serta mattresses available exclusively at Mattress Firm and get a pillow, mattress protector, and delivery for only $30. Plus, get 0% APR for 72 months. Only at Mattress Firm.
When my 4 children were little, I worried about everything. When they began to drive a car, I held my breath until they came home. I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. A car accident takes just a second to occur. Make sure your children buckle up, don't use a cell phone while driving, and never text and drive. We have seen so much needless suffering that could have been avoided. Hug your kids every day. They are what is most important in life. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
This is Pastor R.J. Washington of the Titus Harvest Dome. Join us on Channel 4 every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. We're going to have a God time. Yes.
There are kids in our community who are embarrassed to go to school because their shoes are falling apart or their shoes are too small. That's why Kicks for the Kids was created. At this back-to-school event, new shoes are given to children of all ages. Now, you can help by donating new shoes at Channel 4, Memorial Hospital, or one of several local businesses.
This is not just about movies. This is about you falling in love.
Do you think love is everything?
At first sight.
I'm really glad I met you.
At first kiss.
The words of David Cassidy, I think I love you.
And for the last time.
I love you, for better or worse.
Films you can fall in love with all over again. This is your movie network.
I don't clip, I don't plan, but I still save a lot. I just shop for Publix brand products because they're great, and that's it. No, really, that's it. That's how I save at Publix. How about you?
Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
I don't go out no more. I just don't do it.
The I-Team, exposing crime in local streets. Criminals' favorite day to attack and the 2 hours you're most at risk.
I couldn't believe what I heard.
Crime Time, Monday at 10.
Crisis in America. Next in Subedition, what we've learned about the Dallas Sniper. Next in Subedition.
Monday at 7:30 on Channel 4. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
We're joined by Cindy Graves in this segment. Cindy is a Republican leader in Duval County, in Florida, and on a national level. So first of all, I guess congratulations, elected to serve on the 2016 Republican Party Platform Committee in Cleveland at the Republican National Convention. So part of that is, what do those duties include? What does that mean?
Well, the first thing that I'd learned, I've never been on the platform committee before, but I'm quite honored to be on it. There's several different committees that the chairman of our state committee and the other members appoint along with the nominee. There are 4 different committees, one of them being platform, another being rules and credentials and so on and so forth. I had never thought of being on the platform committee before, and I was absolutely honored when they asked me to do it. And the first thing that I learned is that you go to the convention a week early.
Oh, so you get a couple of weeks in Cleveland.
Yes, so we all of us meet in Cleveland for the first time this coming Sunday. So I'm thrilled to get to do it, and it'll be a real inside look at the way things happen.
So if somebody hears platform committee, that's not, hey, I'm deciding who the public speakers are going to be. It's, what are the public speeches about? What is our platform as a party, right?
What defines us as a party for the next 4 years? They publish it at the end in a beautiful document, usually. I think that the way we start with this is we look at the 2012 documents, and it's divided into different areas. And then what they've asked of the platform committee members, there are 2 from Florida and 2 from every other state, a man and a woman in each case. They have asked you what your interests lie and what type of committee that you want to serve on within the committee. Right. So it's not a free-for-all of everybody in one big room once we get there. I think the work is more drilled down into individuals.
Yeah. One of the things that you just mentioned, you define the vision, the work of our party the next 4 years. Is there some pressure on you about that? Do you feel like, this is important?
It is very important. It's a heady issue, and it's very interesting to me. I put out some information asking people to get back with me to tell me what they thought the most important things were. You know, it's interesting as a party, as we've gone through the last 8 years with a lot of economic uncertainty and all the things that have happened, such as Obamacare and so forth and so on. For small business, it seems as though that finally our the things that we stand for are coming back in style. So a lot of people want to talk about smaller government, better business environments, as well as family issues and so forth that define us. So it's an exciting time.
Well, here's something I want to ask you about. A year ago at this time, Donald Trump has just made his announcement. He's going to run for president, and most observers are saying, well, that'll kind of be a novelty, and we'll have fun in the summer, and then it'll be over. Here it is a year later. He's the presumptive nominee. And a lot of folks in the last 9 months or 12 months have said, this is changing. This is not just going to change. This has changed the Republican Party. Do you agree? And if so, how has it changed the Republican Party?
Well, it has changed the Republican Party, I think, especially at the national level. Not so much necessarily at the state and local level, which is, you know, we have a lot of spirited races for our primary for August 30th going on right here. At the national level, I don't think that the Inside the Beltway boys, as well as a lot of Republicans, gave Mr. Trump very much credibility, and as you said, thought maybe it was a novelty in that sort of thing. I have been stunned, starting in Iowa, with every single state that he took. I was one of those people that believed that you had to have this type of very expensive and very intricate campaign organization going forward. I didn't ever think that I would see a media-driven candidate like this that spent so little money and actually took more votes than, you know, historically than anyone has ever taken for our party. It's amazing to me, especially that he was competing with 17 people. So I think that when we look at what's going to go on at the convention, whether he was your first choice or your 17th choice in some cases, most people are committed to the platform, certainly of 2012, and as we evolve at this time, I think that you're going to see everyone come back together. Of course, there'll be protesters. I got to go to Minnesota and also to Tampa as a delegate in Tampa, and there were protesters. We had code people everywhere and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's America. That's why you get to still have freedom of speech.
Well, a lot of passion on both sides.
Yes, sir.
I even think of the Bernie Sanders supporters are still out there. And we know that Bernie Sanders is not going to be the nominee for Democrats.
And I hope most of his supporters know too. You know, but there's a lot of passion. You know, and especially in these older gentlemen. You know, we saw it last time with Ron Paul. That these older gentlemen on both sides and both parties ignite this amazing passion in these young people.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, that absolutely blows me away. So again, it'll be interesting this year to see where the Bernie Sanders people actually do turn out. We'll see.
Cindy Graves, chairman of the GOP in Duval County. So our last 2 minutes. Let me just ask you quickly about some of the races going on here. You mentioned August 30th. Yeah. Folks are running to replace Andrew Crenshaw in Congressional District 4, but there's also the race for public defender and the state attorney's office here.
Both passionate, very spirited races. You know, I think that as we move forward, you know, there's only 20% of the people that are going to decide these issues typically in an August primary. In this case, maybe we might climb to 30, and I sure would like to see it because I think that all voters, regardless of which party you're involved in, need to get heavily involved in the issues. And I'm sorry that our party was brought into unjustly and not correctly as far as closing the state attorney race, because that had nothing, that is the farthest thing from the truth. That young man acted on his own and later blamed the party. That was very unfortunate because we're not in the business of closing primaries.
Well, as I understand it, and I've spoken over the last several weeks, you've heard us talk about this. This is specific to write-in candidates and closing the primary or whatever. It sounds like both parties have used that. You can do it. But both parties have done it over the years, and maybe it's something that if you don't want to happen.
I think candidates from both parties have done it.
Okay.
I don't know that I've ever known of a party doing it.
Okay.
And certainly the Republican Party of Duval County has never closed a race ever. That's not our business. We stay out of primaries. Our business is the general election, which is what we're gearing up for now. And
well, that's before we get there, we're going to talk about the Republican National Convention, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there in Cleveland and getting your perspective. So, yeah, here's the information. We're going to be in Cleveland. We're going to be covering the Republican National Convention, and that starts really a week from tomorrow, and then we'll have coverage for you throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, in the evenings and during our morning shows as well. Next on This Week in Jacksonville, Tyler Morris brings us the story of hope for people in our area with disabilities. He's going to explain the latest effort from Independent Living Center. Stay with us.
Travel in luxury. See the extremely efficient and gorgeous Airstream Interstate Motorhome, built on the quality Mercedes chassis and the Mercedes turbo diesel engine. Only at Dick Gore's RV World. Airport exit in Jacksonville.
It's IHOP's 58th anniversary. So July 12th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., we're offering a short stack of pancakes for only 58 cents. That's right. On July 12th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., a short stack of buttermilk pancakes is just 58 cents. A deal this good is more than a gift. It's a work of art.
My father spent 39 years serving in law enforcement. Every day, he stood up for justice and worked to make his community safe.
Melissa Nelson, attorney and constitutional conservative.
Today, I teach my own children the same lessons. When you see something wrong, stand up for what's right.
Politicians and insiders want the status quo. Melissa Nelson is fighting for something better. Melissa Nelson, a conservative we can trust. Sponsored by First Coast Values.
It's the big one, and it's held over. Mattress One's 4th of July $1 sale. Buy a mattress and get all-American $1 deals, like a box spring, just $1. Memory foam pillow, just $1. Elevate and save up to $800 on a Serta adjustable set. Save up to $600 on select Beautyrest, Stearns & Foster, Sealy Posturepedic, and Optimum sets, plus 0 interest for up to 5 years. For the best selection and the lowest prices, we're the one. Hurry, it ends 6 p.m. Sunday. Visit MattressOne.com to find a store near you.
This ice cream is rich, creamy, and sweet. Emphasis on sweet. Publix Greenwise Organic Salted Caramel Ice Cream, made with organic ingredients for a taste that's simply delicious. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Okay, getting a great deal here. Nope, just needs a signature.
I can't.
But it's a great deal.
I literally can't even.
Okay.
No! I love it. So just sign right there.
Yeah. Toyota Big One sales event. It's a big deal. Get 0.9% APR for 72 months plus bonus cash on a 2016 Corolla. Toyota. Let's go places.
Can your kid's sunscreen pass the Wet Skin Challenge? Neutrogena Wet Skin does. On Wet Skin, ordinary sunscreen mixes with water and drips. Neutrogena Wet Skin sprays on and stays on. Forms a UVA-UVB barrier. Wet Skin. Neutrogena.
I don't go out no more. I just don't do it.
The I-Team, exposing crime in local streets. Criminals' favorite day to attack and the 2 hours you're most at risk.
I couldn't believe what I heard.
Crime Time, Monday at 10.
And we're joined now by Tyler Morris, Executive Director of the Independent Living Resource Center of Northeast Florida. Tyler, I want you to give us just an explanation. What is that?
Well, Centers for Independent Living, there's 400 of us around the nation. We're happy to serve Northeast Florida, so the 5 counties in Northeast Florida, and we empower people with disabilities to live as independently as they possibly can. For each of the people that come into our office, independence is a different definition for them, so we tailor their goals to meet their needs and provide things from mobility to education to employment. It's really as diverse as the people that are coming into our office.
So that's what I was going to say, kind of break down for me, what are some of those different examples? I come to you and I have partial hearing loss or vision loss or something. Or is it even on the cognitive side? I've got some developmental disabilities. Or what areas do you serve?
Right, so our agency serves every disability regardless of the type that they have. Goals are self-set by the individuals that they have. An example of one of the programs that we offer to the Jacksonville community is our Brooks Temporary Loan Closet, which actually received the Positively Jax Award last year from the station. But that program in partnership with Brooks Rehabilitation is able to loan out durable medical equipment to anyone that's in need. Wheelchairs, potty chairs, shower chairs, walkers. So that's one of the examples that we provide to the community and programs.
Yeah. So is it a matter of housing also? Or is it, hey, where I live, you're going to help me get the things I need in order to be independently living there?
You got it on the latter end. We're not providing housing to the individuals, whatever that definition is for that person to live independently is what we try to help to support and empower.
Yeah. Is it tough given that we're in the state of Florida, we've got lots of seniors, that is there a crossover with disability and I want to live independently and maybe just age-related? I've got some certain living conditions where I need help.
It's a good question. Centers for Independent Living have 5 core services that each of them provide. What's great about Centers for Independent Living is that they're able to flex to the needs of their community. So on top of those 5 core services that we are required to provide, we're able to address things in the community that are specific to the geographic location that we're in.
Yeah. All right. So one of the reasons we wanted to talk, and specifically this week, the Independent Living Foundation kicked off a statewide fundraising campaign. And I understand Farah and Farah is getting involved here with a $50,000 grant. Tell me about this.
We're really lucky to be a recipient of this. The Independent Living Foundation is another 501c3 that is set up to support the Independent Living Resource Center. And Eddie and Chuck Farah both saw this as an opportunity to reach past our own market and empower all of the centers for independent living across the state of Florida. So a part of that award includes a $1,000 empowerment award to each center for independent living to serve people with disabilities. The Donor Advised Fund, obviously, they would like to really empower their local community directly. And so the majority of the gift award goes to the Independent Living Resource Center, but it was very charitable of them to consider the good work that Centers for Independent Living are doing around the state.
So maybe the last thing, but you're talking about it's a matching grant, so that means you've got to raise 50 to get 50, or are they already given it?
Well, that's a good question. Eddie and Chuck Farah are both very committed to the cause, and we will work our hardest. But the check was actually given to us last week at our launch at their firm downtown. So we're really excited. We've already gained tremendous momentum in the first week since its announcement, and we're looking forward to surpassing that matching gift.
Yeah. What does it take to do that? Just more people knowing about it and
Absolutely.
knowing what kind of good work you're doing. As mentioned, a Positively Jax Award winner. We appreciate what you've done to serve our community.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. That's all for now. Next week, though, several of the candidates running for federal office in Northeast Florida are going to join us. We're going to talk about domestic terror. We're going to talk about supporting the port. We're talk about how they plan to fill the shoes of a longtime lawmaker named Ander Crenshaw. We've got several of the candidates running for Congressional District 4. It's all coming up next week here on Channel 4. In the meantime, This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time, both on air and online on news4jax.com. I'm Cat Justice. Thanks for watching.
News4 Jax, we're always covering the news, even when we're not on TV. Stay informed, on the go, and online at news4jax.com.